celebrating 2 decades of achievement. This is CNN. Bringing you the world for 20 years. This is CNN.
Welcome back. On top of everything else, the O.J. Simpson case was a who's who of lawyers. Appearing together here for the first time since the trial, Chris Darden from the Simpson prosecution team and his courtroom adversary, Johnny Cochran. Here at CNN, the Simpson trial inspired a whole new show, Burden of Proof, hosted by Roger Cossack and Greta Van Sustern. She joins us as well here in Atlanta. Does it feel funny to sit together, Chris?
Well,
how's it feel?
I don't feel much of anything, you know.
Did you feel, did a personal thing develop between the two of you with all that attention and all that adversarial business going on?
Well, I think we probably had business to do in there, but I think Chris and I were friends before this started, and, you know, I think we can be friends afterwards. I mean, I was glad to see him tonight. We haven't seen each other much, but I was really glad to see him tonight.
Were you angry at him, Chris?
No, not at all.
Or he was just doing his job?
Well, I think for the most part he was doing his job. I certainly didn't like the way he did it certain days, but I certainly understand that he was a lawyer in a trial and had a job to do, just as I did.
Do you bring your personal, or were there times you were mad at Chris?
Well, you know, you tried not to be. This was a highly emotional case because a lot of issues got into the case. But basically, I knew Chris before, and I respect him as a lawyer. He's a real fine lawyer. Respected the job he did in this case. There's no doubt about it. And I respect him when it was over. And there's no doubt about that. So I'm glad we're here tonight. I want to set the record straight. I have a lot of respect for Chris Darden. Okay? That's no question.
How did it, Chris, get out of hand? And I guess that's a way to put it. Was it the judge? Why did this become what it became?
Well, when I joined the case in November 1994, it was already out of hand, quite frankly. I just hadn't been paying close enough attention to realize that it was. But once the cameras were brought into the courtroom, once the defense team was put together, you know, it was just nuts. It was just nuts. And we as prosecutors, as government lawyers, we were attempting to practice law on a level we'd never practiced on before. And that is in front of the whole world and with the television camera in our faces.
And what was it like for you?
It was difficult. I'd never seen a case quite like this before. But there's also something that people really didn't realize. Practicing in Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles, there was the factor of the LAPD. And history has shown, these last 5 years now, with this scandal that's come about in LA, has shown that the LAPD was really a wild card through this whole process. And that made Chris and Marcia's job really, really hard. Because anybody who lived in LA knew a lot about the LAPD and what they may have been capable of, at least some elements of it. And I think that really played a big role in this.
Does it bug a prosecutor, Chris, when a defendant who the prosecutor believes did what he was charged gets off?
Well, yeah, because
you have to live with this, right?
Well, you know, I don't have to live with it, you know, the way that the victims have to live with it and their families. But yeah, it does bug you a little bit. It bugged me at the time because I felt that the families deserved, you know, a certain degree of justice, and I didn't think that they got that justice.
Is it all winning, Johnny?
Well, it should be all winning. I mean, everybody wants to win. Chris wanted to win. I wanted to win. But it has to be, we didn't have a vote in the final analysis. It was those jurors who decided this case based upon the fact that we believe was a case of reasonable doubt, and they agreed with that.
Greta, I'm going to bring you in. Everybody believes Chris made a mistake by having him try on the glove. You said no.
Absolutely not. Chris had no choice but to put that glove on O.J. Simpson's hand, because I'll tell you what would have happened if he didn't. Johnny Cochran would have put the glove on O.J. Simpson's hand in the defense case, and then in closing argument, he would have turned, he would have pointed his finger at Chris Darden, would have pointed his finger at Marcia Clark and said they were too much of cowards to put it on his hand because they know it didn't fit. Why didn't these prosecutors do that? They're deceiving you then, and they're deceiving you now. And so Johnny would have hit him right between the eyes with it.
True. True. In fact, Bailey had said, I think he may have told Chris he was going to do it. And we knew those gloves wouldn't fit his hands because they were, you know, I was leading the witness at the time, and they were not something that has really large hands.
All things being equal, Chris, was that the key to that trial?
No,
that moment? You don't think so?
No, I don't think that was the key to that trial, although it certainly provided some high drama for CNN and CNN ratings. But no, I think that, you know, Furman, some of the failures on the part of the LAPD, some of our failures in the courtroom, which are bound to happen, particularly when you're in trial for almost a complete year. And I think it's a combination of things, quite frankly.
How about the judge, Greta?
Judge Ito, well, he doesn't run a particularly tight ship, but the one thing I will take issue with Chris Darden on is that this was a case where for one of the first times you have a level playing field. The defense had resources, the defense had a good team. Chris Darden and Marcia Clark had the same resources, and they lost fair and square, and Johnny Cochran and his team won fair and square, and this was a completely level playing field. You never see that in the practice law.
Fair and square?
No, I don't think it was fair and square at all, but I certainly do believe that it was a level playing field.
In other words, Ito treated both sides fairly.
Well, you know, I don't think I was treated particularly fairly.
The loser never did that.
However,
You got fined.
No, we all got fined. But he was an equal opportunity judge. Now, however, they had $10 million. We didn't have that much. But Ito ruled for them about 73% of the time. But it wasn't fair.
A lot of frivolous motion. A lot of frivolous motion filed by the defense in that case. I think they were padding their bill.
By the way, I will tell our viewers. I'll tell our viewers something since we have limited time tonight. These gentlemen both will be with us on the night of June 12th. That's the 6th anniversary of this murder, 6 years. And both Mr. Darden and Mr. Cochran, appearing for the first time together tonight, will be with us on that night, June 12th. What has this done, though, to television coverage of trials?
Well, it depends. If you just look at this one case, you might think it was bizarre. But if you look at CNN's competitor, Court TV, they put literally hundreds, maybe thousands of cases on TV, no problems. This was just unusual.
Is it good, cameras in the courtroom?
I think overall it's good. You know, I worked at Court TV for more than 3 years. Even the state of New York now wants to go back. They covered the Diallo trial up in Albany.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, properly handling, and Chris will remember this, that most witnesses, after a while, you know,
Forget the cameras there?
we forget if it's mounted on the wall. There are some people who'd come in sometimes and be concerned about it. But by and large, I think we forgot it. We wanted to finish.
Well, you know, I think that it's a deterrent to getting at the truth. I think it's a deterrent to justice. One of the things that many people said to me after the trial, and even a few people during the trial, who could have been witnesses, who were potential witnesses, who I think could have led us to the Bruno Manley shoes, quite frankly, during our criminal case. One of the things they said to me was, you know, after watching Cochran and Carl Douglas, you know, crucify witnesses on the witness stand and drag out their dirty laundry in front of the public, that they just didn't want to do that. They didn't want to be a part of that. And so I think it's a deterrent.
You will agree that all of you had a great effect from this trial, and really, none of you were the same since.
Yeah, you know, I'll plead guilty. You know, it's a horrible tragedy, 2 dead people, but there's no question it's changed my life. And unfortunately, and I feel bad about it in some regard because 2 people died.
And 2 people died, and that is horrible. It has changed all of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
See you on the 12th.
Okay.
That's good seeing you.
Historic day. Thanks,
I'll
Greta.
see you Monday, probably.
Chris Darden and Johnny Cochran and Greta Van Sustern. Still ahead, you thought the O.J. Simpson case was long and complicated? We're going to talk to the man who investigated the president. Ken Starr coming up in just a few minutes. But plus, there's more moments, too, from the 90s.
Stack, pump, stack, pound, and stack some more. Welcome to Crystal City, Missouri.
The Mississippi floods came in the early summer, and it came because there was just a tremendous amount of water that got dumped over the Mississippi River basin.
All along the Mississippi, water is in the streets, and plenty more is coming.
It wasn't a flood that was there for a day or two and it was over. This was something that just kept going.
You're using the mode of transportation is about the only one you can use here on South Main Street in Hannibal, Missouri.
I mean, there was this one couple, elderly couple.
77-year-old Raymond Newland, his wife, and their cat weather the flood of 1993 on the second floor of one of the water-soaked houses on South Main Street.
He said he wasn't leaving. His wife was not leaving. They were staying in the house.
How far up is it in your house downstairs?
It's about 2.5 feet now in the front room.
He said if it comes up on the second floor, then that's God's way of telling me that I need to go meet him. So he was going to stay.
We went inside one home, and it was so sad. Nothing more disastrous than a flood in a home because everything is ruined. The water is so infested with everything that you salvage nothing. You want to tell the story, but at the same time, you totally empathize with their loss. And when you stick a camera in front of somebody's face and they've lost everything, sometimes you've lost it too, you know. So It's tough.